Hey guys, welcome back. And this is the last session of the day. This is going to be another roundtable. And this time around, we're going to touch upon the digital aspect of the CX. And for this, I'm joined by four expert panelists from different parts of the world. So on the screen, I see Chris Trodden, who's the CEO of Buy a Brand and he's based out of the UK. Then we have Miriam Wouters. She is with Philips Research in Eindhoven. Then we have Raghav Jagannathan, who is the CEO of KLST as well as the founder of Bluebart. And then we have Marinke, who is on the top left-hand side. She's based out of the US and she is the founder of HealthLinks IQ. So with that, I would get started and let the experts introduce themselves. So Marinka, we'll start with you.
Great. Hi, Marinka Natali, founder of Links IQ. We work with businesses to essentially uncover the unknown. And so that's really leveraging the power of digital AI, data analytics to really help businesses in digital transformation. And the key to that is ensuring that whatever is built is adopted and is used by consumers. So CX is a core component of what we do in building the digital solutions. So very nice to meet everybody, and I'm looking forward to the next few minutes of conversation.
Thanks, maybe Raghav.
Yeah, sure. Hey guys, I'm Raghav Jagannathan. I'm a founder of a couple of companies. I'm based out of US. I own and run a company called KLST. We are a global software and services company based out of New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, as well as we have international offices in Australia and India. KLST primarily focuses on delivering digital services to Fortune 100 companies around the world, especially in technology areas, including artificial intelligence, cloud, content collaboration around SharePoint technologies, as well as mobility technologies. I also founded a company called Bluebart back in 2019, primarily focused on creating AI-powered conversational AI, basically conversational smart user interfaces that can understand users based on voice and text, what users talk, understand sentiments, communicate with them like a human. Yeah, I'm excited to be part of this event today.
Excellent. Thank you, Raghav. Miriam?
Yes, hello, everybody. So I'm here actually in Eindhoven in the Innovation Lab of Philips Research and Philips Design. So we have some physical devices still, as you can see in the background, but it's all about digital. So we in the lab here, we do all sorts of testing, from usability to co-creation, collecting insights. It's a variety, and with AI-based innovations, you have to change your approach in how you validate and how you develop these elements into your solution space.
Thanks, Miriam. And also, Adi sends you a message. Miriam, great to see you, with the love in her eyes.
Oh, fantastic.
In the chat box. Yeah, a chat box.
I'll get back to her. Thank you.
All right. And then we've got Chris.
Oh, hi there. Yes, I'm Chris Trodden. I'm the owner of Buy a Brand. And the main focus is to help companies to uncover their purpose and then translate that into the customer's needs based on the stage in the customer's journey, and creating the interaction, making it as smooth as possible between the customer and the business.
Excellent. Thanks, Chris. So yeah, now we'll get started with the actual roundtable. And what we wanted to mention is, for the audience members, please use the chat box, use the questions box, and put your questions for the panelists, as well as any reflection or anything that you want to share from a chat perspective. So absolutely do that. With that, I'll get started. The first question I would like to sort of pass and ask the experts here is the necessity of digital X in the CX. What's your thought? So maybe we'll start with Miriam.
Yeah, it's a very broad question, of course, and I'll try to trigger it from our own experiences here. Is that when you we used to be a devices company, and now we're really focusing on solutions. Solutions are heavily influenced by AI, so if that's your proposition, you need to look at it differently, because your solution evolves over time, and that's a digital process. So you can't just look at it from a momentum perspective. You have to look at it at a longer term. So the only way to do that is to be confronted, to confront your user. And that sounds negative, but I mean it positively. To be exposed to it, to learn to be around it on a longer term. A lot of these types of elements you can only do digitally. Because a lab is an artificial space, so you need to bring it back into the real world as soon as possible. And that's not with every topic that's possible. But if you look at the user experience, that's in particular, that's one that you can start to work with as soon as possible.
Excellent. Raghav, you come from a technology background. What's your thoughts?
Yeah. I think customer needs, wants, preferences, they're really reshaping how businesses approach these customers in this modern digital age we live in. With social media, mobile technologies, um, customers have a different kind of experience, need a different kind of experience from a digital side when they compared with the traditional on-premises customer experience. For example, taking an example of a Target or a Walmart here in the U.S. When a customer walks into a physical store, there are so many different factors that defines that customer experience, and frankly, the store cannot predict how customers might behave. For example, you might go shopping for a deodorant, and you might get all sorts of stuff from Walmart. Obviously the physical stores experience, a lot of bigger companies invest a lot of money in that, but the online experience is so different. And then online could be on, as I said, on social media, it could be a mobile app. It really boils down to the experience you serve in the quickest, shortest amount of time, how personalized it is. For example, we've learned that over the course of projects, anything that takes over less than actually over 10 seconds, the customer just goes away. They just give up. They don't engage anymore. So in terms of understanding, how to engage the customer in the digital age, we call that a connected customer experience. You need to think about an omni-channel approach, right? So you need to think about, okay, so how does the customer engage with you on Twitter? This is how does the customer engage with you on your website? There are two different experiences. On your website, you have a personalized experience for the customer. You know what the customer has shopped before. You can predict what the customer is looking for, and you can present solutions, products, services to the customer. On social media, on the other hand, the customers probably experience your products and services, and they probably want to voice a grievance. They want to probably voice a feedback, a positive or negative feedback. So you need to have the ability to handle that. Last but not the least, on the same topic, I just want to briefly touch base on automated agents, right? So in terms of a connected customer experience, how an automated agent, aka a chatbot, virtual assistant, many names, similar things, how can it serve the purpose of serving this connected customer? For example, starting the conversation through an automated agent and having the ability, for example, if somebody comes to your website, greeting them, predicting what they'll do and possibly recommending to them in terms of, hey, we noticed that you started buying this stuff last time you came here. Do you want to continue, for example, right? So a chatbot or a virtual assistant, voice-driven, text-driven, is able to do that, is able to provide the service. And the buy experience should be augmented with a real human experience, where if the human says that, look, no thanks, can I talk to somebody else? The chatbot should have the ability to transition that experience to a real human, and maybe watch in the background so you can learn off that behavior, and so on. So we really believe that a connected customer experience, a digital plus human touch experience, is key to kind of serving this so-called omni-channel customer experience.
Thank you, Raghav, for the insightful input here. Marinka.
Sure. So I think that we find ourselves thwart into a paradigm shift, really, over the last year. I'm not going to say what kind of put us there, but we're forced into a more digital kind of experience across all industries, right? Whether it's retail, whether it's getting groceries, or but also in just business development, as well as healthcare, which is one of the things that are purview to our space. And I think that there is an opportunity here on which to leverage that paradigm shift and leverage the technology that we are already experiencing. I mean, look at this forum right here. It's been a great experience, at least for me. To really help consumers move and into and be more comfortable in that digital kind of space and experience. So, and I think that there are a couple of things that are going to be necessary in order for us to get there, no matter what industry, but specifically important in healthcare, associated with awareness, trust, connection, and being able to take those three things and associate them and share the benefits of this new forum in digital, and how it could actually help and augment what they previously were doing, but now make it even better. Because in person and live is what we used to all be used to, and now we have the opportunity to take elements of digital, a connection with worldwide network instead of just the local, leveraging also and helping the local businesses kind of grow and insert themselves into a global forum. There are so many things that are out there, and in order for the digital space to become successful, we really have to connect that to consumer experience, to get the consumers engaged, and also to get them to trust us, I guess, in this whole in all the events that we put forth in front of them. So, Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think the key word for me that you said there was augment, and that's how I feel about digital in the customer experience. So it has to augment what they're already doing, whether it's how they're interacting with our business, or if they don't yet interact with our business or your businesses, then how is it they're already interacting with similar types of businesses or different businesses, or just how are they interacting digitally at all? Because if you try and do it in the opposite way to the way that they're used to, it's going to come in like a punch across the face, like, whoa, where did that come from? I wasn't ready to talk to this person in this way. And if actually you go, okay, well, they're used to talking on Twitter, or they're used to going through Instagram, and this is the sort of things they like to look at, then we'll start to show them similar types of content in that similar feed, and that's how we'll start the conversation. So it's all about basing your, obviously there's a lot of research and analytics involved before there, but basing your approach to customers, whether that's existing customers or new customers, on how are they already interacting digitally with your business, other businesses, with anything online, and then working out how you can build upon what they're doing, and making sure that your experience is as smooth as possible for that customer. And even if they've decided to interact with your business, if you've got knowledge of how they've interacted online previously with other customers, with other companies, and you can embed that in your process so that it feels like a natural transition for them. It doesn't feel like they've jumped into this new world of, they're only being approached, obviously we're talking about chatbots a lot today, and you don't want it to feel like, okay, now I'm just talking to robots from now on in the future, and that's all I'm going to get. And you need to have that balanced approach of, okay, sometimes all I need is an FAQ type answer, and a chatbot's perfect. If it can, if it works well and it gets me the information I need quickly, brilliant. If actually I've got a more complex problem that I need to solve, then I'm going to want to talk to somebody. If the product is more complex, I'm going to want to talk to somebody. There's only so much you can get from an inhuman experience online currently, and it takes an average maybe 10 touch points with a potential prospect before they're going to do any sales with your business. And I mean, it could be up to 20, and depending on the complexity of the process or your particular chain. And if you've gone through 15 of those touch points and you get the 16th one wrong, and you've just wasted all that time and effort and energy and research, and you've messed it up because you've sent them the wrong thing at the wrong time based on just thinking, oh, it's fine, we just need to get something out, and you've lost them, well then what was the point in that whole process? So you need to make sure every single step fits with the customer, how they interact online, and where they are in the journey.
Yeah, I think you took a very good part or aspect of the whole customer experience, which is the customer journey. So maybe let's talk about that, and then we talk about some of the challenges that organizations face when they try and do this customer journey mapping. So maybe Marinka, we start with you. Yeah, Marinka, can you hear us, or did we?
Oh, I think I'm back now. So customer journey is a core, and it's actually a core for so many companies, so many successful companies. I just read an article the other day about Airbnb and how customer journey was a core, and how they even kind of organized their development and their teams. So and it has to be connected to the personalization as well, right? It's an element that needs to be connected across all points of development and all points of the experience. And that includes the design of the product and the services and the solution that you're putting together.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, Miriam, go on.
If I may add, I have a practical example from the way we approach it. We call them experience flows. So what we did is we took the clinical process and the typical steps that would take place. But yeah, for us, a customer is a very diverse topic. So not only were we looking at the patients and their families, but also at the whole order of events that can take place in a clinical setting, but also the staff experience. And so it became a very multi-layered type of journey. And there are a lot of work to make, and a lot of interviewing took place, but they really prove very beneficial, because once you have them, you have this fantastic starting point to start your ideation from. It's very insightful, and more importantly, so it brings people to the same page. So in our innovation process, you have the technical people, the scientists, the designers, and so this is a great tool to apply design thinking over all those layers. So I'm a big fan of the customer journeys.
If I may, so digital experiences in our experience has to complement an existing customer experiences in the physical world, right? A common mistake a lot of our clients do, from our experience, is adding digital components and thinking that's enough, and that's a very common mistake, right? So, and I'll clarify that in the context of two key examples of actual chatbot projects we did for a couple of customers. We believe that, as I said before, adding digital components should actually complement, add value, add on to your existing customer experiences. So that, for example, one of the big examples we did was a virtual agent for a leading sports media entertainment company around the world, frankly, but especially in the US, where very simple. It was a simple example of players uh, forced to read a so-called collective bargaining agreement, which is a very important document, often very important, like a Bible, especially in the sports arena. And frankly, most players don't read it. It defines how you're supposed to behave, and what kind of governance policies applies to where you are, whether you're a coach, player, or whatnot. And this is a huge document, possibly exceeding 1,000 pages. So we layered. Obviously, there's a physical experience and expectation that players are supposed to read it and sign off on it as part of the compliance regime. But also it has very important topics, questions and answers that often can serve a player when he has questions about his salary caps, questions about certain aspects of the upcoming season, right? So a very simple example where you can layer on top of that experience a digital experience using a chatbot where the player, rather than reading a huge document, is able to ask questions to a bot, exactly the same things that you would typically ask in the physical world to a book and go to an index to find the answer. So we were able to kind of take that CDA document and feed it to an artificial intelligence engine. And now the player can come in or the coaches can come in and ask questions like, what is a salary cap? What are some of the policies that applies to the upcoming season, whatnot? And being able to get that answers that the player is looking for. So again, just to repeat, I think a digital experience should really be adding on to an existing customer experience.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to just give another quick example of the about the customer journeys. Now, a lot of businesses have kind of this blanket approach. I say a lot of businesses, a lot of slightly less tech savvy, perhaps in the terms that we're speaking about. But a lot of businesses use this blanket approach. But when a new customer comes into contact with a business, they start on an automated journey of touch points, and it might just purely be, okay, they get an email in X number of days, that's this one that tells us about our products, and then another one in this number of days, and then maybe we'll follow up with a phone call. But some people will come into contact with your business at a different stage of the journey, and having to adjust that. So I called a business recently about garden offices, about garden rooms. I wanted to inquire. I'd actually done quite a bit of research, and then I was told, okay, how about we send you a catalog and you can have a look at that. And I thought, okay, yeah, that's fine. But I've kind of just told you I have actually done, I've done the research. I've seen the one that I like. My neighbours have it, and I'm clearly quite a long way down the journey. So it's potentially not going to take you very long to make a sale here if you get me on the right path. And actually, all I've had is some automated emails from them. And then because I haven't responded to those, I've had one that's then apologizing and saying, we're sorry we haven't heard from you, and all this. It's like, well, I chose to call you. I didn't email you. I thought if, I had a nice chat with somebody on the phone, and then actually I was in a process where I would have invited somebody to come and do the surveying and that sort of thing at the house. But because they've just put me onto this journey of, okay, we send the emails, and then if we don't hear a response, we say, thanks, never mind. And it's like, well, you've missed a trick there. You could have put me on a different path, which would have said, this guy, he knows what we are. He knows our business. He's clearly done some research. And so we should put him as a different type of customer. We're going to get back to him on the phone. We can book something in and we can move this along quickly. And I think people are slightly missing those nuances at the moment of going, okay, where are they when they first come into contact with us? Not everybody is at the start of the journey with this product. They might have used a different company, and so they already know, maybe they're an expert in the product, and we just need to try and tell them how to get from that product to this one and what's the differences, rather than going, okay, it's a new customer to us, so we're going to start them at the beginning of their journey again, regardless of their position, and just making sure you're understanding enough about what they know about your business, even if it's not your company, about your business and what you do, before starting, on any sort of automated journeys. Maybe they don't even need one. Not everybody has to go on an automated journey, and just making sure you're putting the right people in potentially the right boxes on your CRM system or wherever you're keeping that data.
Yeah, it's so important to take and make sure that the technology kind of aligns with the customer journey and your understanding of why people come to the business and what they're looking for. I've seen in the past, even before the innovations that have occurred in the last 5 years. Just a company went and they wanted to apply technology to a customer's experience so that they could be a little bit more efficient, and they applied an IVR. And they ended up losing a lot of customers because the customer experience used to be, and the benefit used to be, that when you called in, you'd get a live person right away. And it was about efficiency, about meeting your needs, about being able to triage effectively. And the IVR just took all of that away. And IVRs are not very technologically advanced, but it totally changed the experience, which was a negative for the company and, well, for its users. And so I totally agree that you really have to understand why people are coming, what's motivating them, and what they really need in order for you to match the digital and insert the digital or the technology into the experience.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, as I said in my intro, I think a digital plus human touch is critical for any digital experience strategy, right? So when you think about, as I said, injecting key digital components into a common customer journey, right? The physical, typically driven by physical objects, physical interactions. We believe that a digital plus human touch strategy is critical. Let me give you an example of that. We at Cobot, as I said in my intro, we design, we give a platform for customers to design a no-code chatbot builder platform. You can create chatbots and they can deploy chatbots on different platforms. Now, this customer we work with, it's a leading cosmetics company, and they have chatbots that get surfaced on their website as well as on Facebook. And I talked about this in my intro about this omni-channel experience, and not every channel is the same. So, for example, a customer journey with this particular client, we created a chatbot through Cobot where this chatbot lives on the website, and the customer journey starts there, where they come to their website, they look for products. Typically, they would ask the bot, or the bot would prompt them, hey, I see that you've been here before based on IP address and whatnot. It can predict what the user was interested in before, right? So, but let's assume the other case where the customer is actually an actual customer. They bought lipsticks and they bought eyelashes and whatnot from this mascara and whatnot, right? From this company, and now they might have developed a rash, right? So they might not be happy. So the Facebook bot serves the purpose, right? So typically people turn to Facebook. They have community conversations, right? So they go to the cosmetic company's page and they ping the bot that, hey, look, I used your mascara and I have a rash on my top eyelid. And now that experience is no longer should be handled by a chatbot. So looking at the customer grievance, understanding the sentiment, our platform, Cobot, is able to transition that conversation to a live agent, right? So and that's one of the sessions we had before the session. That was one of the questions I was asking in terms of the human aspect to the chatbot, right? So humans often, when they're airing grievances, when it's connected experiences like people giving people objects, like presents and gifts, there is a human element to this, right? And a chatbot is not suitable for that purpose. So it's not about blaming the chatbot; it doesn't work, but it's about the process of evaluating whether the process was correct, whether you evaluate the process correctly for the chatbot to be applicable to that example. So in this example, what we do is we transition the experience to a live human, and we put the chatbot in the background. So when the chatbot monitors the conversation, it is not involved. The human now interacts with the human who's having a grievance with the product, and that's the example of a digital plus human touch experience. And I think this tag team effort is absolutely critical. And I think a lot of companies are doing this. Amazon has one of the best tag team experience when it comes to digital plus human experience. I'm not sure whether you guys have used the Amazon support, but they have, I believe, one of the best. You start with a chatbot, it transitions to human, and keeps going back and forth. You won't even realize it. And that's how beautiful it is.
Hey, that's a great, I guess, point where we can take a couple of questions from the audience. So first one is from Dean Smith. He says, I found that many problems come from too narrow focus on digital changes when big picture thinking, considering core systems and entire customer journey, is really needed to avoid fragmentation effects. How do you ensure you see the big picture?
I can start if you like. So I guess the big picture comes from a lot of research at the start of any process, and then you can make sure you're constantly updating it. So you don't have to necessarily get it perfect at the start. If you get somebody on a journey, the thing is to be, if it's not a perfect system, which none will be, it has to be flexible and there has to be ins and outs, and there has to be, there's crossroads, there's forks. So you just have to give those people chances to change their position on the journey. So, for example, one really simple way is if you're a company who likes to send out regular emails, and then you can have different types of questions, different types of articles within the email that's at different stages in a customer's journey. So you'll then be able to record if that customer decides to click on, back to my example earlier, if somebody wants to click on a technical spec, then you can tell that they're at a later stage of the journey than somebody who wants to find out how this type of product may fit into their business or how it may fit into their day, depending on the type of product that they're talking about. So from that, and then they arrive at a landing page. That landing page has other details. If you'd like to, you can go into more and more levels of this. So you can then find out, okay, they're on the tech spec page. Where do we want to take them next? What do we want to find out about them? And you can do that all throughout their journey to make sure you're continually monitoring and updating where somebody's position is and what type of information or data to share with them next, or if it's a human that they actually should be talking to or interacting with at the next point.
I mean, I have a perspective on this. We work with a very large telecommunications giant, actually, a global giant, and we embarked on a journey with them. And to answer this question in the context of that, they have over 25 odd subsystems when it comes to human resources. We were creating a My Human Resources, like a My HR chatbot, inward facing, not customer facing, but customer user, the employees, over 20,000 employees. And in that example, we not only have to think about the customer experience, that a customer in this example is the employee, and customer experience where you now have to think about what is it that the person does in the organization, what kind of training the person is supposed to complete, how do you handle leave requests. So all sorts of possible enterprise workflows trigger depending on the scenario, depending on the use case. So I think a couple of things we recommend in these kind of examples. Thinking about a big picture is absolutely critical. Understanding the MVP for the chatbot or the virtual agent is very important, and drawing out the roadmap in terms of all the integration touch points over a period that the bot is supposed to accomplish. Those are kind of upfront thinking we do when we work with customers.
I would add to that.
All right, Marinka, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that I would add to that. It might be a little bit cliche at this point, but understanding the why. I know that we've heard it across the globe, but understanding the why really gives you a sense of purpose as to by user, because as Miriam said, there are so many users, and there are the people that work in the organization. There are the people that are the customers. There are the people that are supporting the customer. So being able to, from a big picture, understand the why from these different perspectives will help bring together and coalesce a connected solution. I don't know, Mary.
Yes, I can only agree to that. Of course, if your customer, or part of your customer base is a patient, then the sensitivity is so enormous. You have to tread so carefully. So I don't see chatbots taking over. I see what we do is applying a lot of technology and a lot of digital to actually free up specialists and doctors and nurses to be able to connect more and to have more one-on-one dialogue. That's in your hospital settings. And I think on the whole of the conversation, it all comes down to user research, know your user, on any level. That's going to help you, drive these digital experiences.
Absolutely. I think this also kind of gives, Chris, I'm just going to come back to that. I'm just also going to take another question. This is from Ursula. She is asking about customer journey seems to be a straightforward and commonly used tool. How to make sure it is as accurate as possible. So maybe you can kind of club this together with your previous reflection as well. Just take both the questions together.
I guess that one comes back to actually the point I was previously making, which was slightly in reference to that question, which was around the ways in which you can make sure that somebody is on the right journey. And obviously, there's not just one straightforward journey for most businesses and most customers. So making sure you're constantly evaluating that and giving customers both an in and an out. So ways to choose to interact or not with your business. And then the different routes to doing that, and making sure you're measuring their preferences. Whether that's you've shown them something on Facebook and you've shown them the same thing on Instagram, and they've chosen to hide it on one and they're fine with seeing it on the other, or like I was saying about the emails and how you can put different content in there and see what people choose to interact with, and you can constantly monitor that throughout their journey and make sure that as we've been saying at the right moment that a person could take over the conversation as needed and go, okay, this person's at the right point where we need to have a chat. And depending on the type of business, of course, it's not there's no blanket rule, but you'd be able to see, okay, this is where we need to talk to them, and we need to be able to give them one-to-one attention, whether it's before they've purchased with the company or post, as Raghav was talking about. When somebody's got a grievance, they're much more likely to want to talk to a real person and have not just a personal response, but in terms of the human interaction, but a personal response to their problem, and go, no, I'd like someone to understand it first and tell me, and empathize, and then come up with solutions. So there's lots of ways of assessing it, but I'd be interested to hear what other people on the panel think.
Yeah, well, if I may respond to that, I think we built a lot of we call them experience flows, but these type of journeys, and there's not one the same. It's never harmonized. There's so many different angles, and it's also especially with AI and digital content, it's transforming over time. So you have to be making sure, you have to ensure that you're continuously updating, because the smallest change also that you build into your solution is also going to trigger different kind of types of feedback. So you have to do it continuously over the whole range, and I think that's also very important to take along in your solution building.
Excellent. I was just looking at the watch. So we roughly have about between 8 and 10 minutes. So maybe what we can do is, literally look at two aspects. So one is, the topic was the necessity of digital X in CX, right? And, right now what we see is kind of a blurring of consumer, customer, user, or anybody who interacts with what we've got present online or through our physical devices or otherwise. How do you make sure that we can identify who the most important set of people or group are, and then accordingly get the right digital mix to bring them together? So it's kind of a two-way process, because people are already struggling to figure out who my user or customer should be defined, or the definition is, and then look at the second aspect, which is what's the best technology, what's the best digital X that we can incorporate. I'm just going to throw this open to the forum here.
I can start with a little bit of a biased opinion, and where I've seen, and this you need some level of sophistication and from a data perspective, but leveraging the data and creating those predictive models and really can help leverage your understanding of your constituents and your users based on their historical patterns, and then to anticipate who should be targeted for the future in very specific either niches or actions or situations. So that's a simple solution in statement. It's a lot more complex in practice, but that is one example of how you could help have technology, and it's tied to AI and analytics and so forth, help you kind of focus your intent and your communication and solutions.
Yeah.
I think that any of these projects, AI, chatbots, virtual agents, they are not IT projects. I think the common mistake people do, and we've seen this repeatedly our clients do, is they take on these projects with IT in mind. What can technology do, right? And that's the wrong approach. I think having the ability to, one of the sessions prior to this covered the ability to study a group of people, right? Having volunteers come and give you feedback on the type of journey they expect. Study competitive offerings and look at the type of journey they offer, right? Involving sales, marketing, innovation team members, user experience members, and not driving the project as an IT project, I think is critical for success. I know it's a little bit, a little bit away from what the question was asked, but I think I wanted to really share this to the broad audience here that I think these AI projects, part of the reason why people even say things like, I don't like chatbots, is because I think of the fact that it's IT driven, the mentality. I think it shouldn't be. It should be driven the other way around, do a 360 on this.
Mm. I have a very pragmatic example. So we work in AI in radiology to help better read images. And so often when we engage in conversation with radiologists, they will ask us like, well, are you making my job redundant? Are you going to be taking over this? And then our kind of approach or response is, well, we believe in a future where the radiologists who are working with AI will be, more present than the radiologists who are not working with AI. There's this kind of acceptance that you have, but in the end, the ambition is to use also this digital technology to make their jobs, better, to have their end results, clinical, the diagnostics better, and to give them more time to engage with the patients.
All right, thank you so much. So now let's, I guess, do a bit of a wrap up here. So, any tips on how companies should look at this, and or any kind of predictions on what's the future likely to be in this space? So we'll just do round the horn and ask each one of you to spend a couple of minutes on either of the items. So Marinka, let's start with you.
All right. So that's a really hard question to predict the future. Let me take a stab. So I think innovation will really drive kind of the solutions or how we present solutions. So for instance, VR is already being used now in many interactive kind of scenarios, mostly in the gaming, but I see it kind of expanding. And so being open to and creative in your thinking will really make a difference in the opportunity that you have to incorporate some of the technology into your products and services and solutions. But I think if we lose the personal touch, and we lose sight of, like Raghav was talking about, we lose sight of the actual intimate relationship that we need to build with the consumer or the user, then we lose everything. So that would be my my future look, is that we will need to keep connected to the patient or the person or the consumer itself, and for anything that we build.
Chris?
Hi, yeah. So I think one aspect that's slightly off to the side of the things we've been talking about is at the moment there's a lot of kind of solutions and kind of options offered for people who are digital savvy, people who are on the internet, people who choose to go on Twitter, on Facebook, on any different social media platforms, and you can easily get in contact with those people and then start them on your journey, because there's 100,000 different ways to do that, and it's looking at how we can help people who aren't tech savvy to interact with businesses a in a soft approach, but that enables them to join that journey, if they want to, not in a way where it's, okay, I'm going to make you do this regardless of how you use your technology, but how does technology fit into, somebody who's older and less able, they aren't so good with technology, or maybe they actually physically can't use it for some reason, and how do we adapt it to make it work for those people so they can have excellent experiences with companies and with products and services in the same way as we're enabling people who are accessible and do have access to technology, and how can we make their customer journeys as good as anybody else who can use the internet and can use a computer.
Excellent. Miriam?
Well, in that perspective, there's a lot of talk about chatbots. We're doing a lot of experimentation with also robots, virtual assistants, and personally, I believe that a personal assistant or virtual assistant, that type of digital kind of companion, especially in the healthcare domain, also very much important to stay healthy before prevent to get to become a patient. So virtual assistants, I have a strong belief that that's going to be a very good route forward, because that is also something that should be using its intelligence and to be customized to the individual. So there's a very nice link, and it's kind of a build up, and it can learn over time, it can evolve, keep your preferences. So that's where I would put my bucks in the bucket for the future.
Thank you, Miriam. Raghav, finally with you.
Thank you. Yeah. So before I predict the future, I want to talk about one. I'm going to make a statement here, which is a customer's impression of any brand, anybody's brand, a small company like ours or a large company like Philips, is created by this omni-channel, a human-driven digital touch point. This is not future. This is today, right? We only see this trend improving, getting so embedded that the line between a human and a robot, software robot, physical robot, doesn't matter. I think it'll start disappearing. People, we believe that people's lives are going to be integrated with software robots or hardware robots. And we believe that any customer who does not, who makes a kind of a, is facing a dilemma, should I do this or not today, they're going to lose out. I think they're going to lose the battle, already lost battle possibly to Amazon, who's heavily investing in AI, and a lot of stores here in the US shut down because of them. So I don't believe that AI is a choice. AI has to be an integrated experience today. As I said, it needs to augment a physical experience for the customer. So I believe that the future is going to be driven more and more by a lot more integrated experience, fueled by human touch, based on the emotions, based on the customer emotional state, where a human will get involved, but the first point of contact and possibly the last point of contact is going to be driven by AI and a software.
I think that's a nice segue to bring us to the end of our session here. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank our esteemed panelists, Marinka, Miriam, Chris, and Raghav, to share your insights with us today. So, and with that, let's give you guys a big round of virtual applause.
Thank you.
Thank you.